So one of my main focuses of study has been fascism, authoritarianism, and democratic collapse. For a paper I wrote on how fascist Germany came to power, I ended up having to read a lot of speeches by Adolf Hitler. I also read this book over here, The Origins of Totalitarianism by Hannah Arendt. Really good book. I highly recommend it if you have a lot of time and energy to spare into poring over social and historical dynamics of historical fascism. I could talk about a lot of things from that book, but for now, one thing I do want to mention is that after the end of World War II and the collapse of the Reich, a lot of people sort of wanted to diminish their own culpability for Hitler's rise. And there was a common talking point that people would say that the people couldn't possibly have known what Hitler was going to do when he came to power. That he used his lies and deception, blah, blah, blah. But that's just completely wrong. He did lie, but not about the things that they're talking about. Hitler didn't hide what he wanted to do. He was extremely explicit over and over again about his views on Jewish people and what he wanted to do to them when he came to power. People who said that they couldn't know what Hitler wanted were either not listening, thought he was too unserious, or frankly didn't care. Ignorance is no excuse. We should take ideologues at their words when they say things like this, or we risk giving them even more legitimacy. People just rationalized Hitler's actions and rhetoric as playing politics, and they willingly chose to ignore it for that reason. Indifference to political machinations and sacrificing your values for political expediency are some of the biggest risk factors in facilitating authoritarian government. In my opinion, active participation in society does not ask but requires you to stand up for what you believe in, even and especially if it's against your own party. It requires independent thought and civic engagement. We like to think that something like authoritarianism couldn't happen here, but experts are concerned and have every reason to be. This experiment of ours only works when we take an active interest in the political and not subsume ourselves to it. We are not immune. Right now, we see insane rhetoric, which is increasingly dismissed as political maneuvering or rationalized away by saying they wouldn't do that, and then when they do, there's only excuses. I'm not saying we're turning into a totalitarian state. Totalitarianism was a really unique phenomenon, but I think a lot of people are falling into a lot of the same traps, and we don't have the excuse of ignorance. We never did.